You often hear people say that they miss the simplicity of being a child. But what I want to know is, when did we all decide that everything had to be so complicated? My mother teaches first grade and has for many years. And when I was in college, every now and then, me and my brother would go back and visit her school and help with a reading assignment or something like that. And one day, my brother, his group, finished far before the rest of the class. So he decided he was going to try to teach these kids something new, or just find out what they might already know. He asked them, what kind of bird can't fly? So if someone asked you or me that question, we would say an ostrich or a penguin, maybe a kiwi. Someone would probably take out their phone and Google flightless birds to come up with a comprehensive list. But for some reason, none of these kids knew that some birds couldn't fly. But one very bright little girl raised her hand. We'll call her Susie for our purposes. And when my brother called on her, she said, with a smile and the confidence of a Nobel Prize winner, "A dead parrot." And I know that might seem a little morbid or funny, depending on how you want to look at it, but I think it's more interesting, and it definitely applies to what we're talking about here today. Let's piece apart exactly what Susie did. She took the first bird that came to her mind, a parrot. Fair enough. Then, throughout the last year or two of her life probably, she learned about death. So she said to herself, what would make a parrot not be able to fly if it was dead? Easy. And no one in this room or any other can tell her she's wrong. Next I'd like to go to a quote. It's generally attributed to either Einstein or Feynman. And there are a couple different versions that get floated around, but I'd like to settle with just one. It's, if you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it yourself. If you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, you don't understand it yourself. So let's think about what exactly that means. If you take a concept and break it down into the most simple form that you can and explain it in this way to a child, and they don't get it, then you must be the one that doesn't understand it well enough. And I believe that we can tweak that concept just a little and apply it to our everyday lives, at work and home, for things like problem solving and process improvement. What about this? If you can't explain it to a 6-year-old, it's broken, plain and simple. If a process you deal with, when broken down into its most basic steps, one by one, stops making sense, it's time to make some changes. And I have a request for everyone here. Next time you're at work or home and you get, a half hour, no, forget that. Next time you're at work or home, make time. Okay, set aside half an hour or so and pick a concept that you deal with on a daily or weekly, maybe monthly basis, and break it down into the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. I want you to take off your suit and tie, sit crisscross applesauce on the floor in jeans and a t-shirt, and explain it to yourself like you're a 6-year-old child, okay? And if by the end of it, you can look at the process and honestly say, yes, this makes sense and we should continue doing it, then by all means, continue. But if even for a second you find yourself puzzled, it's time to fix it. Go back to the drawing board, figure out the pieces that don't make sense, and get rid of them. Just throw them out, okay? It's an age-old saying that too many cooks in the kitchen is a bad thing. And in the same way, too many cogs in the machine is a bad thing. And I actually like to step aside from my talk here for a second and just give a huge thanks to everybody in the Ignite OKC community and everybody that's supporting this event. I'm really excited for all the other talks. I'm especially thankful to all you guys for sitting up here and letting me talk about this. But I'd like to leave you with one last big thing. I truly do hope that you all decide to give this a try. And more than that, I hope someone walks by your desk next time you actually do this, sees you sitting crisscross applesauce on the floor, and asks you why you're acting like a child. But most of all, I hope you're willing to respond, why aren't you? And I'm going to end it a little early, but thank you.